Okay, I'm Marty Griffin. I'm a physician and practiced in Marin County for many years. I became interested in wildlife conservation when I was a student at Berkeley and majored in zoology. I went on a field trip with Dr. Orr to the Bolinas Lagoon, and a group of us climbed up through the poison oak and got a view of the egrets nesting in the top of the trees at the site of what is now the Audubon Canyon Ranch. It was a wild and beautiful place at that time, and it stayed in my memory. And in later years, when I was president of the Marin Audubon Society, and I took a look at it, realized what an incredible piece of property it was, and realized its relationship to the Bolinas Lagoon. So I got Stan Pitcher, who was, he and I were really the two of the mainstays of the Little Marin Audubon Society. We made a wonderful team together. He and I went out and looked at it and decided that it would be an incredible project for our Little Marin Audubon Society to take on. The board members almost fell off their chairs. They said, "How much would it cost?" And we said $337,000. And they said, "Well, we've never spent more than $100 before. How can you even talk about such numbers?" So Stan and I said that we would be willing to sign the mortgage for the ranch, and if we didn't raise the money, he and I had to come up with this money somehow. We were really on the hook. So I worked very hard from 1961 to 1966, when we made the final payment on that $337,000. I really devoted almost every spare moment I had to the Audubon Canyon Ranch. During that time, we did raise an awful lot of money, and I remember going to garden clubs all over the Bay Area. On one occasion, I went to the Piedmont Garden Club with Mrs. Caroline Livermore, probably the most famous conservationist in the history of Marin County, and a lady who was our inspiration. She believed in direct action. She said, if you're going to save something, get the money and go buy it. Don't fiddle around, trying to work a deal through the planning department to rezone it or anything like that. She said, buy it. And so that was sort of our philosophy, was to get directly involved and to try and purchase the land if possible that was in jeopardy. We asked people to donate the cost of 1 acre of the Audubon Canyon Ranch, and for that they got their name on a plaque. We got donations of 1 acre from all over. My main interest in the Audubon Canyon Ranch was the lagoon, really. That Bolinas Lagoon to me is one of the most beautiful places in the whole world. The Bolinas Lagoon, right from the start, became a tremendous focus of controversy. At that time, in 1961, the lagoon was the most polluted body of water in Marin County. There were a lot of birds in Bolinas Lagoon. The pollution wasn't that bad, and there was a lot of feed for the birds, and of course they nested in the trees at the Audubon Canyon Ranch. So it was the birds really that made it possible to buy Audubon Canyon Ranch, and we always worried what would happen if the birds left, if the egrets and the herons moved their nesting area somewhere else. And in the next 5 or 6 years, up until 1967, we did everything we could to protect the tidelands from any type of development. In 1967, the Bolinas Harbor District came up with this tremendous plan. We're going to put in a 1,000-slip boat harbor, very large motel, very large headquarters for the Bolinas Harbor District Board of Directors. It was instantly opposed by all of the conservation organizations in Marin County, and particularly by Audubon Canyon Ranch. The articles appeared in the paper that the Bolinas Harbor District was negotiating with Mrs. Thomas Kent. Her family owned the Kent Island, which is right in the heart of Bolinas Lagoon. I was in a bad situation because I knew that the Harbor District was about to go ahead and condemn this 110-acre parcel from Mrs. Kent, in which case we wouldn't be able to purchase it from her. She agreed to sell it to the Audubon Canyon Ranch for $95,000. So I phoned up Ernest Kettenhofen, who was one of our supervisors in Marin County, and who was a land developer and wasn't too enthusiastic about some of the conservation work that was being done in Marin County. Well, I told him that what our plan was, that we wanted to purchase the island and then deed it to the county, and then it would become a county park. The county wouldn't have to pay a cent for it. He said, well, I got to admire you guys. He said, you put your money where your mouth is. And he said, well, if you'll support me in the coming election, I'll present this to the Board of Supervisors. What a dilemma. So the board accepted it, and then all hell broke loose, guys. The Bolinas Harbor District had just arbitrarily canceled our lease to these tidelands on Bolinas Lagoon. There were articles in the newspaper that the county had been bamboozled, and the grand jury was called in for a special investigation of the whole thing, and I was called by the Bolinas Harbor District and told off in no uncertain terms. And anyway, the upshot was that this was all perfectly legal, and Audubon Canyon Ranch went into partnership with the Marin Conservation League and the Nature Conservancy. And Stan being in Europe, I was elected chairman of the fundraising campaign to raise this $95,000. I'll tell you, I really sweated. That was hard work, but during that time I didn't see much of my family. I was running around trying to raise money. We got a lot of wonderful donations from a lot of organizations. In 1967, I felt very strongly that we should expand our activities to Tomales Bay, which is really part of an ecosystem along with the Bolinas Lagoon. At that time there was a master plan for the whole east shore of Tomales Bay, which called for the development of an extensive road system, 3 or 4 grammar schools, innumerable shopping centers and gas stations, and a total eventual population of nearly 1 million people, all in the east shore of Tomales Bay. And this was the official plan of the County of Marin for the development of that area. Well, one of the things that we were able to do was to block off the access to the water by some of the big landowners on the east shore of Tomales Bay who were interested in subdivisions. I remember this gentleman who we bought these tideland parcels from. He'd been working raising oysters for so many years, and he was so tired of it, I think, and his hands were just, raw from pulling up these oysters. And we took the $25,000 that we gave him for the purchase of his tidelands, and he immediately got married. He never raised another oyster. And we felt very bad about that because we all loved oysters, so much. So. But I think that we made up for it by helping to clean up Bolinas Lagoon and Tomales Bay and encouraged oyster growing in other parts of Tomales Bay. The other interesting connection that I had with Tomales Bay was my first acquaintance with Cliff Conley. I had heard that he had the most beautiful place on Tomales Bay, and I phoned him up and just asked him directly if he'd be interested in selling his property to Audubon Canyon Ranch. He says I phoned him up at midnight and really put him on the spot. He was standing there shivering, and he said, "For God's sakes, Dr. Griffin, I'm not going to sell it to you, but I might give it to you." So eventually he did. He's been giving portions of his beautiful property there at Cypress Point to the Audubon Canyon Ranch. Well, for the future of Audubon Canyon Ranch, I feel very strongly that our main thrust should be to protect what we have there, to protect the highlands and the wildlife and the habitats of both Bolinas Lagoon and Tomales Bay, to be sure that the people who have donated all this money to purchase these wonderful wild areas on Tomales Bay and Bolinas Lagoon aren't let down by future development. And I think it's just, to me, West Marin is one of the most incredible areas in the whole world. There's just nothing like it geologically or botanically or ornithologically. It's just unique.